Logan Paul, Dillon Danis. We got to give them credit for selling this fight. The magnitude of this fight, especially at the level they're at in the fight game, the amount of hype and the amount of eyeballs, the amount of traction. It was something like, I forget what they said, what Dillon Danis has done, and the amount of views that this fight just on social media has gotten. It's something crazy. I want to say it was like 15 billion impressions, which is unheard. I mean, I don't think UFC fight has ever done that, but it just show. And again, the impressions is going based off the antics that Dillon Danis did, that Logan Paul did, that, all the people like me added to that. I was a small part of it, but there's some real big heads who were chiming in with this. You got Schaub having Dillon Danis on. So from the comedy world, the sports world, the fight world, you have everybody, all the personalities in the space. It's just as big. We're in a soap opera. That's all we are. We're in a soap. It's no different than WWE. Everyone has their opinions. You have your heels. You have your baby faces. But at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to get as much eyeballs, as much money, and achieve, certain things. So more kudos to them. So all that being said, I think we have to give credit where credit's due. Where no, it's not Canelo versus Charlo. No, it's not Usman versus Hamzat. It's technique-wise, fight-wise, experience-wise, of course, it's not that. But we have to at least acknowledge that these boys know how to sell a freaking fight. I almost said product, which clearly Prime's worth $1 jagillion, which they know how to do that. But they know how to capitalize on their fan base, no matter what it is, whether it's Prime, whether it's Dillon Danis, whatever he's pushing, KSI, whatever he's pushing. So we have to give them credit for that because they are changing the landscape of the fight game in that aspect, which I think is more good than bad. The reason why I'm careful, I'm struggling with it. I'm going to be completely transparent. I'm struggling with being positive because what we got on Saturday, as a guy who fought in the UFC for quite some time, at a high level and been in sports for a high level. The product that you got is, we got to be careful because it's not high level in any aspect. It's not a quality product. The production's quality. The buildup of it is quality. The smack talk is, quality, depending on how you want to go. Or effective. Yeah. That's a better word, is effective. So there's that. But as a hardcore fight fan, I bleed UFC. I love one championship, and those are the sports at the highest level. My fear is we're going down a road where what you got on Saturday, and this isn't a knock on Logan or Dillon or KSI or Tommy Fury. My worry is that's going to outshine and overtake the legitimate fighters. Because what scares me is Logan Paul, Dillon Danis, Tommy Fury, KSI. I don't even need to know the exact numbers. I'm sure we don't have them. But that will get more eyeballs than Hamzat versus Kamaru this weekend. It will get more eyeballs than Volkanovski versus Makhachev this weekend. That will get more eyeballs than Canelo and Charlo. That will get more eyeballs than Tyson Fury and Usyk. With guys who have spent a lifetime of discipline and an entire body of work that they're such outliers. They're so special. And then you have these guys, because they have this rabid fan base from whatever it is, YouTube. One Salt Poppy, he goes out there and he tries New York food and puts salt on it, and then decides he wants to be a fighter. Which again, I don't want to I don't want to badmouth them, but as a diehard and a guy who loves this fight game, I just have such a fear that is going to overtake the actual fighters, because they're not fighters. They're just not. It's tough, man. It's tough for me to be cool here, because what you're seeing is a very, very, very low level product when it comes to fighting. And that includes Tommy Fury. He's He's just not. He's not a real boxer. He's not. He has 8 fights. The reason why he's fighting these big YouTubers is because I think it's brilliant what he's doing. Because at his level, at 8-0 or whatever he is, 9-0, I don't. Who gives a shit?
Okay.
Whatever it is, whatever his record is, at that low level, when you're coming up through the ranks, if he's fighting another kid who's 8-0 from Cuba, another kid who's 8-0 from Russia, Ukraine, those guys are dogs, man. They eat, sleep, and breathe that, and most of them are sleeping, on a mattress on the floor without any Wi-Fi in a 1-bedroom apartment, trying to make this dream. Tommy Fury's a guy who's 8-0, who's making millions and millions and millions. And, he's engaged to a beautiful woman who's making millions. And they're in this penthouse, and his brother's the most famous boxer on the planet. So if he really wanted to be a real boxer, again, I'm not saying he should, but if he actually wanted credibility in the space, he would step away from fighting the KSIs, step away from fighting the Logan Pauls, step away from fighting the Jake Pauls, and go fight the no-namer from Dominican Republic who's sleeping on dirt, who's 8-0, and probably has a career in boxing. Tommy Fury's beating the game. Tommy Fury is the MVP of this entire thing. Because for him to be 8-0 and to be making multi-millions, beating up non-boxers, you did it, dude. You did it. You're 8-0. Most people, a guy who's 8-0, no matter who your brother is, nobody's going to pay attention to. You're 8-0 and you're getting millions of views and millions of dollars, and people are tuning in. That's unheard of. So he's done it right. I'm not saying he should go down the path of fighting, some dude we can't pronounce in Russia that nobody's going to watch. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's traditionally how this goes. And he's fighting easy guys and getting big paydays and getting a ton of eyeballs and get more famous from it and making all the money off his Instagram. Like, he's killing the game. The issue is what they're doing taken away from the actual fighters in the sport, and that's what worries me. Because, again, the build up to this, insane, billions of impressions, and then there's no person in this space, whether they're an analyst like me, whatever you want to call me, someone who enjoys the UFC, who's been watching, since the jump, or your big boxing head, there's nobody that's familiar with the fight game who's watching that going, man, these guys can fight. That's not a knock on them. It's just we're used to this, and then we got this. So you're not getting any backlash from the general consumer. Man, Logan Paul's 1-2 is insane. He looks jacked. Man, Dillon Danis, this. Boy, I thought KSI won that fight. What? I stopped watching the KSI Tommy Fury fight after the 3rd round. I went, I don't want to be part of this. I'm good. I'm going to spend my Saturday afternoon doing something else. I'm good. I'm all checked out. It didn't make me feel good. Again, more kudos to them. And their fan base is going to watch and eat it up. I don't know how far this can go, but again, I'm not hating on it. I think there's a lane for it. This Misfits thing, there's a lane for it. And I also think it gives kids and young people hope, because when you see that Salt Poppy, when you see KSI, who was this nerdy, this is him saying it, not me, this nerdy gamer who accumulated all these massive followers, and he's a damn near, worth $100 million. And now he's fighting in boxing, fighting a guy in Tommy Fury as the main event and getting millions of views. When I say you can do anything you want that you can think of in the world, this shows you that. KSI was this nerdy, introverted kid who went from that to this. When you see that, literally, kids, you can do anything you want to do. This is a good thing. This gives people a lot of hope. These guys weren't born able to run a 4.4 in the 40. They can't jump a 40-inch vertical. They didn't grow up boxing in the slums of Bronxville, New York. There's none of that. That's out the window. You don't have to come from the gutters, as Mike Tyson says, to become a fighter. You don't have to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Marcelo Garcia or under Renzo Gracie. You don't have to spend years and years of when your friends are, going out and partying. You don't have to stay disciplined and not go party. They're showing you there is a path to do whatever you want to do. Now, are you going to be the best fighter in the world, the most technical fighter in the world? Can you walk the streets and pretend you're a badass? No. Those days are over. But you can get to a certain level and get millions of views and millions of eyeballs doing whatever the hell you want to do. It could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. The day and age of saying, and I tell my son this all the time, UFC fighters don't come up in Calabasas, California, and their dads don't drive the cars your dad drives. It doesn't happen. I can't use that anymore. Logan Paul and Jake Paul came up pretty cushy, Not saying they didn't have their struggles, but they're not coming from the slums. They didn't have fighting used to be a thing where you have no other options. Well, these guys have all the options, and they still decide to choose to fight, which kudos to them. When it comes to obviously the key takeaway of that night, when it comes to Logan Paul and Dillon Danis, I think one of the other things that made this tough for me to watch, you're talking to a person who's biased. I do a podcast, for God's sakes. I'm not live on a broadcast. And I know how tough it is if your friend or a guy who you're close with is fighting not to be biased. That's not me. That's why I don't do professional commentating. I don't know who it was. Ariel did a great job. And Ariel did a good job bringing, and they need a guy like Ariel because he's as legit as we have in our sport as far as journalism goes. So you need a guy like that involved, and he can kind of back up, proving that Dillon Danis and arguing Dillon Danis is a real fighter and stuff like that. But he does a good job of educating them because they're so far off on a lot of this. But the main commentator, who anything Dillon Danis did, and it was just so pro Logan. You can be pro Logan, but you have to have an unbiased opinion as far as the broadcast goes, because that makes this even more of a circus. Dillon Danis would do anything like, dude, I'll tell you, good luck against Logan Paul, man. And then Ariel's like, well, I know his coaches were saying, because he worked with Alex Pierre, his coaches were saying, go in there, wear him out in the first few rounds, let him punch himself out, and then go to work. It was like the second or third round, and Ariel alluded to that. Goes, I actually talked to Pierre's camp. They said the game plan was let him punch himself out and then go to work. He goes, well, good luck with that. That ain't going to work. Like, you have no fighting experience, dude. What are you talking about? You're just so biased. Like, dude, you're not going to get to suck him off no matter how hard you go on here, right? That doesn't end like this. I was just like, oh. So I stopped watching I had to turn the volume down. I was like, oh, God damn it. Get off his nuts, dude. You're not going to get a prime chain, bro. It ain't happening. You're not that close to the boys. Back up, dude. Just be a little unbiased for me to give us more of a realistic product. And I think he's from the WWE, and obviously they do that stuff. And that's part of the problem. And then what makes it even more interesting, again, this is more power to Logan Paul, but he gets on there and like, so what's next for you? He calls out Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Check, please.
I know, that was weird. Of all things, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Check, please. I'm out. No, I'm done watching it. But KSI Tommy Fury's up next. I'm good. He just called out Rey Mysterio after a boxing fight. But again, Logan's like, dude, this is my path. I can jump here. I can jump there. So again, kids, you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever. This proves to you when someone tells you, no matter what freaking tax bracket your parents are in, no matter what situation you're in, single family home, no matter what color you are, when I say this proves you can do whatever you want to do, this is the living example, and this is a good thing. For Logan Paul to get in there and fight Dillon Danis in a boxing match, advertise and have his prime there, and then call out Rey Mysterio, who's a WWE guy, you can do whatever you want to do. And this is a good thing. But I'm worried it's going to ruin the actual fighters. That's what I'm worried about. So we'll see. I think there's a lane for it. But if that lane overshines the real lane, we're going to be in some trouble. We could be in some trouble here. Because look what it's doing to boxing.
Yeah.
Showtime's out. HBO's out. This was on ESPN, dude. ESPN Plus, DAZN. Because if you're a businessman, you think they give a flying crap about real boxing? No, they just want eyeballs and subscriptions. So if we go to them and go, hey, you can have Canelo versus the other Charlo or Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio, they go, in boxing? Oh, we don't care. Who brings more eyeballs? Oh, Logan crushes him. Well, give me Logan. And Canelo's like, hey, what the? Yeah, I know, but that we don't get as many eyeballs. I know, but I'm one of the best to ever do it. I'm one of the best boxers of all time. I know, sweetie, but Logan Paul has 100 million subscribers. You know?
Yeah.
So somebody has to put their foot in the ground and go, hold on here. Hold on. It just can't be about YouTube clicks and subscription. We have to at least respect the sport. That's my only thing with that. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Dillon Danis, people are like, oh, you called it. I guess.
You guess. You called it, exactly.
Yeah.
And he did twice. He did 2 different attempts, a takedown and a choke.
Yeah. I wish I could brag or, but this doesn't even mean being humble. For the rest of that didn't call us, figure it out. Right? Figure it out. This one was easy as pie. Now the fights at UFC 294 will be a lot tougher to call, and I'll try my best. But when it comes to this, YouTuber influencer stuff, yeah. Oh, did it end in a DQ? Did he call out Rey Mysterio? Okay. Oh, you called it. Oh, cool. That doesn't make me feel good.
I did. We all were freaking.
Really?
Like, what the? Dude, immediately we were like, holy shit, you actually
I didn't even think it was a thing. But to my brothers, like, hey, man, internet's going crazy. If you call them, like, really?
Yeah, we want to make it the title.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude. Figure it out, everybody. Nobody else called it? What are we doing? You guys need to look yourself in the mirror, man. What are we doing here? Can you take that for me, Chin? I'll get
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah, please, man. I'm in the middle of it.
All right, go for it.
Go back to the Misfits card. I just, as far as like what's next for Dillon Danis, most times, again, coming from a real fight background, most times when a guy performs like this, we're not going to pay to see him fight again. So the UFC, if let's say Dillon Danis is in the UFC, let's say he's a veteran, has several fights, gets to the main event or gets to a title fight, and he fought like this, you're going to be disciplined. You're going to be back on the prelims. You have to work your way back up till we can trust you. That's how the real fight world works. When it comes to this Misfits stuff, and people are like, Dillon Danis is done. I don't think so. Because, again, the Misfits team's going right now, and they're in their meeting today going, who brought the most eyeballs? Who made the most impressions? Dillon Danis. Let's get him on the next card. At the end of the day, what the Misfits represent isn't high-level fighting. It's the Real Housewives of UFC, the Real Housewives of boxing. It's a soap opera, and everyone's tuning into it, and everyone gets views from it. So when you'll see legit MMA outlets go, Dillon Danis is done after that performance, you're basing it off a UFC model. They don't play the same game. So that's no different than in the WWE. If a guy loses going, he's done. He'll never come back. No, this is how it goes. So Dillon Danis isn't done. I don't want Dillon Danis to be done. He's good for them. So I would also hope, obviously, we haven't been in here since all this stuff popped off with the UFC 294 changes, Logan Paul going after me as far as saying, there's no suing and fighting, all that stuff. I like for the record. I like Logan Paul. I like Jake Paul. I like Dillon Danis. I like KSI. I like Tommy Fury. But we're living in a soap opera. So when I say something and they respond, I don't take any of it personal. It's all for impressions. It's all for clicks, all for views. If we're in person, I'm cool with all of them. I don't dislike any of them, but I have a show where I have to critique or I have to comment on certain things. So, when it comes to Tommy Fury, KSI, Logan Paul, Dillon Danis, for Logan Paul, my only thing was, again, and this is me coming from a legit sports background, there's no suing and fighting. As I emphasized on Monday's pod, your payback, no matter how nasty it gets, you have a chance to legally beat the crap out of this guy and not go to jail, not go to prison. That's the payoff. Logan Paul did that. Logan Paul embarrassed Dillon Danis. Job well done, mission accomplished. The lawsuit, that's done. Throw that, Logan, you've won, dude, in life several times over. Your fiance's beautiful. Your brother's crushing it. You live in Costa Rica or wherever the hell he is. Puerto Rico, same thing. Yeah. You live on an island. You basically run the island. You've won, dude. You've won. You've proven to us you can beat the crap out of Dillon Danis. You've done it, dude. This lawsuit, drop it. Yeah. It's over. You did it, dude. You did it. You embarrassed Dillon Danis. You did it, bud. That's it. That's where this thing stops. Because what we don't want to have happen is in this Misfits, again, there's a lane for this. The next time he fights Logan Paul, you're not going to get the same impressions. You're not going to get the same buildup. Because they're going to go, I got to be careful, man. I'm going to get sued. That's what we don't want. This Misfits thing is big because of a guy like Dillon Danis. Really is. So, what's next for Dillon Danis? He talks about the UFC. I doubt that ever happens. I just don't see it when we see his boxing. The UFC's so past those days of just a pure jiu-jitsu guy having success in the UFC. Name one. Current, like I'm saying in 2023, who can just have straight jiu-jitsu, no striking, and get it done in the UFC? The game's advanced so much, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Hall was dope in the beginning, but he couldn't.
How's he doing now?
Yeah, I know, exactly. So,
Chrome Gracie, how's he doing
exactly,
now?
Yeah.
You just can't. Mackenzie Dern, savage. Best jiu-jitsu in the female division. She had to adapt her style, and she got at Ruka, and she's striking a lot more. Because there's no way you can become champ based off jiu-jitsu. Chrome Gracie was like, I'm just going to show jiu-jitsu works. How'd that go? This comes from a jiu-jitsu guy. I love jiu-jitsu. If all you have is jiu-jitsu, you're never going to make it to the UFC, kids. It's not happening in 2023.
If it's all you have, yeah.
If that's all you have.
Yeah.
If all you have is world-class jiu-jitsu and very amateur striking, you're never making a mixed martial arts. That formula doesn't work anymore. So for Dillon Danis, with his injury and stuff it's gonna be very tough for the UFC to sign on to that, especially after losing Logan Paul.
True.
So but there's a lane for Dillon to keep doing this stuff. You're telling me you wouldn't watch Dillon Danis KSI? When I say you, I don't mean in here. I'm talking to the we're different. We're different. But if to Dillon Danis to build that fight up, what he did with Logan, you'd watch KSI. And also we have, in the society we live in, we have such short-term memories. If he starts going hard in the paint on KSI, who knows what angle he's going to take? We're like, oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, dig up some crazy stuff.
February 2022, 20 on the 22nd, Dillon Danis, KSI. I'm like, okay. All this stuff I'm talking about, yeah, something to do. Something to do. I will say this, man. Is hats off to KSI, Tommy Fury, Logan Paul, Dillon Danis, because in the world we're living right now and the war going on in Israel and Palestine, it's so heavy, it's so dark that this was an escape from that. So kudos to them. And it's not that you want to turn a blind eye to what's going on in the world, but it's an escape for 2 hours of really what's going on. And it is the darkest, nastiest, evilest stuff that ever happens in the world. And it was an escape from that. When I see that stuff, I don't want to, my car stuff, the truck stuff, is an escape from that. When I see some of that stuff, I don't want to come on podcasts and be silly. I don't want to do stand-up. I don't want to post about my stupid fucking truck. When you look at what's going on in the world, I don't want to do any of that. That stuff is an escape for a short second to really what's going on. And Dillon Danis and Logan Paul, as nasty as that buildup was, I want to thank them. That was an escape for 2 hours of real problems going on. At the end of the day, Logan Paul being Dillon Danis, in the grand scheme of things of what's going on in the world, none of it matters. None of it matters. But he gave us an escape for 2 hours. So God bless them, man.